What's up everyone, Vu of Envu Films, and I am back with another idiotic video for you to watch. And yes, I know it's been a while since I've posted, probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks. As you've probably seen in my previous vlog, my wife recently gave birth to my second child. Now I have a son, which is why I have not been posting. But luckily today, as most Asian parents do, I have him currently doing his math homework. So he's currently doing pre-algebra. No, not algebra yet, just pre-algebra. Hold your horses. He's only 13 days old, so we'll get there soon enough. Anyways, I hope you don't mind like the slight drop in quality of my YouTube videos because I'm currently filming on a Sony ZV-1 for this video, and I'm recording on a new mic, which I'll talk to you about a bit. But this video is about the Fuji X-T4 versus the Sony a7S III. And should you switch? Should you not switch? What should you do? And as a dedicated Sony shooter, as well as a Fuji shooter, I think I can offer you an unbiased opinion on what system may be best for you. Yeah, I probably could have used like a Sony a7 III or something to film this video instead of a ZV-1, and the quality would have been a little bit better with the full frame sensor versus this 1-inch sensor. But I am a piece of trash YouTube douchebag, and I'm lazy, so this is easier. There's a screen here, it flips around. Sony a7 III doesn't, so whatever. Now, should you switch to a Sony a7S III if you've been using a Fujifilm X-T4 or X-T3 the past, I don't know, 1 or 2 years, and you're pretty dedicated to the system? We'll find out, and I'll let you know what I think. And also, let me just be clear, I do know there's also another new camera out there called the ESR5, ESR6, but I'm not going to talk about them because Canon is absolute trash, and it does not belong on this high quality channel of mine. I'm just kidding. So, reason number one why you should not switch to a Sony a7S III from a Fujifilm X-T4. If you are a poor piece of trash waiting for the next Trump stimulus check, you should probably stick with the Fujifilm X-T4. Of course, I'm just kidding. That was very insensitive of me, but I don't know. You can't take a joke, lighten up. But yeah, this camera is only $1,700. The Sony a7S III is $3,500. You could buy 2 of these cameras and still have $100 left over for like 10, or depending where you live, 11 or 12 bowls of hot steaming pho for your stomach's desire. And even though they're super hot bowls of pho, they're still not as hot as the ESR5 after 10 minutes of 4K 60 filmmaking. But real talk, with a7S III, you are paying for a full frame sensor and all those additional codecs, dynamic range, and that's about it. For an extra $1,800, all you're going to get is some more codecs, well, 4K 120. If you're into that kind of thing, great. But if you don't need it, maybe you don't need to spend that kind of money. I think if you are a dedicated Fuji shooter, meaning you have the Fuji X-T3, X-T4, and you have a plethora of Fuji glass or X-mount glass to use, and that's the only camera you have. Not like me, I'm a piece of trash Sony fanboy who has 3 Sony bodies and a bunch of Sony glass. So there's a big difference between being a Sony and Fuji shooter versus a dedicated Fuji shooter. With the Sony a7S III, I could take advantage of all of my lenses and of course all of like the juicy specs that the Sony a7S III comes with. So it makes sense for me to just go for the a7S III. For you, if you are a Fujifilm shooter, probably not. I mean, you have to think about it. What do you use your Fujifilm X-T4, X-T3 for? Is it just mainly 4K 60, 10-bit? The Fujifilm X-T4 has that. Do you need good dynamic range? The X-T4 has it. Is it as good as a Sony a7S III? No, but again, it's also $1,800 less. I'm talking about the X-T4. Now the X-T3 is even cheaper. That's only $1,000 and you're still getting 4K 60. The only thing you're really missing is IBIS, and that might be a deal breaker for you if you want to spend extra $700 for some more stability. I would, because I like to shoot handheld a lot, and the X-T4 is quite shaky most of the time. I mean, just to put into perspective, this little kit here $1,700 minus. Let's take the cage out of the equation, but just $1,700 plus a finger adapter is like $350, and plus this $500 Sigma 18 to 35 EF mount lens will run you about. I'm gonna have to ask my son how to add all this up. Let's just say somewhere around like $2,500 to $2,600. You have a very capable filmmaking machine right here in your hands. You have 10-bit, you have 4K 60, you have great color signs, you know, and as much as I want to say colors are subjective, and if you want to spend some time, you could definitely match a7S3 footage to Fujifilm X-T4 footage. Matter of fact, you just drop Eternal LUT on S-Log3 on the Sony a7S3 and get pretty close to it. A little bit of tweaks here and there, and you probably look pretty much the same way the Fujifilm has. The one thing you have to consider is you cannot get that kind of dynamic range back. Like colors you could play with, dynamic range you cannot. So back to Fujifilm X-T4. Another reason why you may want to just hold on to this system versus switching over to Sony a7S3 is if you are pretty satisfied with just being a manual shooter. Not to say that this does not have great autofocus, it's very usable, but sometimes it can be iffy. And if you don't need like the pretty much superior video autofocus from the Sony system, and you're really just accustomed to manual focusing, definitely stick with the Fujifilm X-T4, X-T3. Another reason would be if you are pretty dedicated doing photography, where you might be printing more than like a 20-inch print. If you're going to be doing some wedding photography, you would definitely want that extra megapixels to be able to crop in. Sony, with a 12 megapixel sensor on the Sony a7S III, you're going to have to pretty much shoot perfectly. You don't want to have to crop in that much. I mean, yes, in my opinion, you can deliver, let's say, wedding photos from a Sony a7S III. I don't recommend it because you don't really have much room for error in terms of cropping, but you can, in a pinch, you can definitely use Sony a7S III. But this camera is definitely better. It's a more photography-equipped machine. So if you're also delivering a lot of professional photos, I would stick with the Fujifilm X-T4. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you have to be realistic here. The Sony a7S III specs, like all the codecs, dynamic range, it really blows the X-T4 out of the water in terms of just overall video specs. But again, you're paying for it. So if you don't want to spend $3,500, and this is a lot cheaper alternative. If you're very completely satisfied with just shooting 4K 60, 10-bit, that's all you really need. You don't need 4K 120 and all that jazz. The Fujifilm X-T4, X-T3 is perfect camera for you. In my opinion, in this day and age, if you are like just a tiny bit talented, have a little bit of skill, and can refrain from using 18 whoosh transitions in your video edit, you can pretty much pick up any camera and produce great content with it, unless it's from Canon, because Canon, again, is absolute trash. Okay, so that's that. I mean, $3,500, you get an X-T4, and then also get an X-T3 as a B cam, and probably this lens, as well as 2 or 3 other Fuji, one of the f2 video lenses, and it still be cheaper than the Sony a7S III. So keep that in mind. And let me just put into detail for you. One X-T4, $1,700. An X-T3, another $1,000. That's $2,700. But never mind, you can only get this one lens. My math is completely off, but you get what I'm saying. The Sony a7S III cost a lot of money. Now, if you are still interested in Sony a7S III, I would just say wait, keep using your Fujifilm X-T4, X-T3, wait 6 months. That Sony a7S III is going to be sub $3,000. I guarantee it, because I bought this a7R III back in the day for like $3,200 or $3,500 when it first, the day it came out, pre-ordered it just as I pre-ordered a7S III. A few months later, it was like $2,800. So I guarantee you the Sony a7S III is going to drop in price within 6 months. So if you can wait that long and you can continue to create great content on your Fujifilm X-T4, you go ahead and do that. And matter of fact, if you're completely satisfied, like I said, if you're completely satisfied with 4K 60, 10-bit, and that's all you really need to produce great video content for you and your clients, you could just stick with the Fuji X-T4. You don't have to switch to anything else. All right? So, and gear does matter, because some people will say, oh, you don't need this, gear doesn't matter, whatever. Gear matters because you're seeing it right now, because everyone says lighting this, lighting that. This exact lighting system that I have for all of my YouTube videos. And I could look at the Sony ZV-1 right now, and the overall quality, the overall look of it definitely does not look as good as it would have if I was using the Fujifilm X-T4 to film with. So gear does matter. Lighting does not fix everything. It definitely does makes things better, but it does not fix everything. And you do need good gear to complement your good lighting. So that is that. I hope that kind of helped you make a decision. And if it didn't, I completely understand, because this is the biggest trash YouTube channel on the planet. So if you didn't get any information out of it, I'm sorry, but it's expected. You're watching Vu of Envu Films, the biggest tube douche on YouTube. So there's that. Anyways, guys, if you're interested in what mic I'm using, I'm actually using the Deity D4 Duo mic. Just came in. I've been using for all of my videos the V-Mic D3 Pro. Let me know what it sounds like. I'm pretty much used the exact same settings. It's just pretty much right here in front of my face. Definitely a smaller mic, not battery powered, and it's just being recorded to this little Sony recorder here, which I'll sync in post in about 2 seconds. So let me know what that sounds like compared to other videos. I will be doing a review on this mic and probably comparing it more in depth with this mic. So if you want to see more about that, please subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing a lot more videos with the Sony a7SIII when that gets in my hand in late September, and I will definitely be comparing it more in depth with the Fujifilm X-T4. I'm going to dive deep into the dynamic range. Everything you need to know that I could provide, I will. So just put in the comments below what you'd like to know, and till next time, guys, lighten up.